It's great to be here. I don't know how to speak extemporaneously. I I just learned English last year, so I'll be reading from a page lamely. Sorry about that. But it's so good to be inside the lie. My whole life has been just one big lie. I'm not even called Gary Shteyngart. My real name, this is true, is Igor Steinhorn. I was a Bavarian porn star before I became a writer. So I think this whole thing is just going to be 12 minutes of me unbosoming myself in front of you or on top of you. I knew it would happen here in Tribeca because this is where the truths are discovered. If you, like me, run a hedge fund, this is alpha, my alpha moment. Yeah, hedge funds. Well, I became a writer when I was 5 years old in Leningrad. Even that name is a lie, of course. It's St. Petersburg, they call it now, which I'm sure is in Florida. St. Petersburg. And my grandmother Galia was a journalist for a paper called Evening Leningrad, which is much better than Morning Leningrad. That was the TMZ of Russian papers, if you will. I said that in LA. It didn't go so well. Glad to be home. So one day when I was 5 years old, she said to me, hey, asthma boy. That's what she called me. I had a lot of asthma. So, hey, asthma boy, you want to become a novelist? And I said, sure, how much does it pay? You know, like any good novelist would ask. And she said, I'll give you a piece of cheese for every page I write. And my God, I love that cheese, that kind of almost yellow, plasticky Soviet cheese. Let me just set it up. Yeah, pretty hot stuff. Now, right outside our window was the biggest statue of Lenin in Leningrad. I'm talking huge, and we called him the Latin Lenin because he always looked like he was about to rumba. And each morning after having an asthma attack, I'd get up and I would just hug Lenin around this pedestal. Like, I really loved that guy. So my first novel was called Lenin and His Magical Goose. And in it, Lenin meets a goose, possibly from Armenia or Georgia or someplace warm, and together they invade Finland and try to create a socialist revolution there. Then Lenin and the goose get into a huge political fight. The goose is Menshevik, Lenin, of course, is Bolshevik. And in the end, Lenin eats the goose, but not before we learned that Lenin also suffers from asthma. My grandmother loved it, and she paid me 100 pieces of cheese. For a 100-page novel. Fun fact, even today, Random House pays me in cheese, which I then sell out of the back of a van in Canarsie, if anyone's interested. That's a lie, by the way. I don't. I get paid in cheese, but I don't sell it. I hoard it. So then we emigrated to America, and I had to leave Lenin behind, and my father said, you know, socialism was a big lie. Now we have to love Reagan. So in addition to loving Reagan, I had to learn English and some Hebrew because I was sentenced to 8 years of Hebrew school for a crime I did not commit. Someone may have, but my hands were clean. And 1980 was a difficult time to be a Russian in America. You all remember, well, some of you remember, some of you are young, but Ronald Reagan's Evil Empire speech and all those movies, Red Dawn, Red Gerbil, Red Hamster, everything was red. You know, it was so bad I had to pretend to the kids in Hebrew school that I was actually born in East Berlin, not in Leningrad. So you know things are bad when you have to convince Jewish kids that you're actually a German. How's that for being a filthy liar, pretending to be German? That's a crime in some parts of Poland. Plus, we were really poor. I had one shirt and one pair of pants and a bunch of T-shirts the parents of the kids in Hebrew school had donated. My toys were a pen, a Chewbacca action figure missing half of his paw, and I had from Russia a fur coat and a fur hat made out of some woodland animal. And the teachers would actually take me aside and say, you really need to get rid of your fur. Kids will play with you more if you're furless, which is actually true in adulthood as well. I've discovered the hard way. Fur jokes. And then 2 years after we left Russia, something truly incredible happened that almost changed our lives forever. And it was our first American lie. In 1981, an official letter arrives in our mailbox. Mr. S. Shteyngart, you have already won $10 million. Sure, our last name is misspelled rather cruelly, but cardstock this thick does not lie. And the letter is from a major American publisher, to wit, the Publishers Clearing House. I opened the letter with shaking hands, and a check falls out. A check! Paid to the order of S. Shteyngart, $10,000/$100. Our lives are about to change. I run down the stairs into the courtyard of our apartment complex. Mama, Papa, we won! Мы миллионеры! We are millionaires now! Around the glowing surface of the orange dining table imported from Romania, we spread around the contents of the voluminous packet. For 2 years, we have been good new citizens, accidentally watching X-rated movies with names like Emmanuel, The Joys of a Woman, getting jobs as engineers and clerk typists, learning to pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of American and for the something for which that it stands, unavoidable with money for all. Боже мой, my mother says, my God, as we look at the pictures on the envelope of a Mercedes flying off the deck of our yacht toward our new mansion with its Olympic-sized swimming pool. Oi, does it have to be a Mercedes? Phew, Nazis. Don't worry, we can trade for a Cadillac. Bоже mой, how many bedrooms does this house have in this picture? 7, 8, 9. You said the kids at school has houses like this. No, Papa, this house, our house will be bigger. The way I understand it, the house doesn't come with the prize. The prize is just $10 million, and then we buy the house separately. Pooh, they always say here, sold separately. Look, there are palm trees. Maybe it's in Florida. Florida won't be good for your asthma with all that humidity. I want to live in Miami. Maybe there aren't Hebrew schools in Miami. Everywhere in America, there are Hebrew schools. We sit down and using our collective 400-word English vocabulary, begin to unravel the many documents before us. Wait, it says here that yes, we have already won the $10 million. There's no disputing that. But a panel of judges still has to award the money to us. First, we must fill out the so-called winner's form, and to select 5 national magazines that will be sent to us free, or at least the first issue of each will be free, and then the Americans will likely send us the rest of the money. Fair enough. First, we must acclimate to our new wealth, expand our literacy. I am proud of Papa's new car, a bulbous 1977 Chevrolet Malibu Classic with only 7 million miles on the odometer. But it's time to get acquainted with the finer autos. So I order car and motor, motor and driver, carburetor and driver, muffler and owner. These were all magazines in the 80s. And for the last selection, something that maybe has my Star Wars monkey, Chewie Chewbacca, in it, Isaac Asimov's science fiction magazine. There's a nerdish element of the audience that always laughs. Thank you, thank you. Asimov, woo! We sign everywhere we need to, even places we probably don't need to. We sign the freaking envelope. I walk solemnly to the mailbox and deposit our claim on the future. Adonai Eloheinu, I pray to our new God, please help us get the $10 million so that Mama and Papa will not fight so much, and there will be no razvod, divorce between them. And let us live somewhere far away from Papa's wolfish relatives who cause all the trouble, and let them not yell at Mama when she sends the money. Papa says we don't have to, her sisters and grandmother Galia in Leningrad, who has been dying for a very long time. Amen. Yeah. Can I daven or what? Yeah. That night in my dreams, I walk into the Solomon Schechter School of Queens, a multi-millionaire. And the pretty girl with the big teeth, who's always tan from Florida vacation, kisses me with those big teeth. I haven't gotten the mechanics of kissing down yet. The kids make fun of Jonah Himmelstein, the school's biggest loser, but I say, hey, he's my friend now. Here is $2. Buy us both a Carvel flying saucer cookie ice cream and keep the change, you garnished, you nothing. We find out the truth quickly and brutally. At their respective workplaces, my parents have told, the Publishers Clearinghouse regularly sends out the "you have already won $10 million" missive, and that these are routinely thrown in the trash by the savvy native-born. Depression settles over our non-millionaire shoulders. In Russia, the government was constantly telling us lies. Wheat harvest is up. Uzbek baby goats give milk at an all-time high. Soviet crickets learned to sing the Internationale in honor of Brezhnev's visit to a local hayfield. But we cannot imagine that they would lie to our faces like this here in America, the land of the this and the home of the that. And so we don't give up hope entirely. The judges are probably reading our application right now. Maybe I should write them a letter in my burgeoning accented English. Dear Publishers Clearinghouse, spring is here, the weather is warm and rainy, the birds come from the south to sing songs. My mother's pianist fingers hurt very much from typing, and she has only one suit for work. Please send us $10 million right now. We love you, Family Shteyngart. Meanwhile, Car and Parking and the other Publishers Clearinghouse magazines are starting to pile up, taunting us with many hot, naked centerfolds of the new Porsche 911, the official sports coupe of Reagan-era excess. We reluctantly begin to cancel our subscriptions to all of them except for Asimov's science fiction magazine. Yes, Asimov, yes. A small, square little number with the drawing of an exciting, molting space creature on the cover, hugging a boy in its claws. Our dreams of being instantly rich are finished, but we are moving up nonetheless. We are saving every kopeck that comes our way via my father's junior engineering job and my mother's typing. Here's our inventory. I have my pen, my broken Chewbacca monkey, my recently circumcised penis, my Soviet atlas, and a bunch of donated t-shirts. My mother has the size 2 Harve Bernard business suit. My father has made a fishing rod out of a stick. Pounds of disgusting marked-down farmer's cheese and kasha will feed us until we die of sadness. And if I don't clear my plate of that warm, soggy crap, the thunderclap of Papa's hand rings against my temple, my mama yelling, "Just don't hit the head. He's going to have to make money with his head." Or Mama's week-long silent treatment will make me consider taking my own life altogether. Who the hell are we? Parents, мы бедные. We are poor folk. Why can't I have the Chewbacca with both paws? Parents, both paws? We are not American. But you both have jobs. Parents, we have to buy a house. Yes, a house, the first step to Americanism. Who needs two-handed Chewy when we will soon have our own quasi-suburban home? But at lunchtime, the Hebrew school boys do like to take out their Lukes and Obi-Wans and Yodas and set them on their desk to demonstrate just how much property falls within their purview. They talk in their already raspy Jewish voices. I threw out my old Yoda because the paint on his ears was falling off, and then I got 2 new ones, and a Princess Leia, just so Ham Solo could do her. Me, amazed. Wow. I wrote Lenin as Magical Goose because I wanted all that Soviet cheese, but I also wanted my grandmother to love me, and that was the easiest way to get her love. And so a terrible connection was forged in my mind that writing novels equals love. What was I thinking? Most novelists today are not loved. I gave a reading at a university a few years ago, and I'm not going to mention the University of Oklahoma by name, but a student there said, "Excuse me, Mr. Shteyngart, how do I know when a book's been fictionated?" And I said, "What?" And she said, "You know, like when it's not true, like when it's a lie." And I said, "Well, it says novel on it usually, or stories." And she said, "Well, thank you. I'm going to avoid those from now on because I just want things to be true." See, people in Oklahoma know the score about lies. But back to my life after not winning the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstake. Because I was the red gerbil, the second most hated boy in Hebrew school, I thought, what if I wrote a science fiction novel and showed it to the kids in school? Maybe they'll learn to like me. And then when I was about 11 years old, a momentous thing happened in the guise of a substitute teacher called Miss S. And this is when I learned that being a liar, by which I mean being a writer, was my ticket out of being a Soviet loser and my ticket into being an American loser. On one of our first days on the job, Miss S asked us all to bring in our favorite items in the world and to explain why they make us who we are. I bring in my latest toy, a dysfunctional Apollo rocket whose capsule pops off with the press of a lever, but only under certain atmospheric conditions. Humidity must be below 54%. And explain that I've even written my own novel. This passes largely unremarked as the latest batch of Star Wars X-Wings fighters are paraded around. Finally, Miss S holds up a sneaker and explains that her favorite activity in the world is jogging. P.U., a boy cries out, pointing at the sneaker and holding his nose, and everyone except me laughs their wicked child laugh. I am shocked. Here is a young, pretty teacher, and the children are intimating that her feet smell. Only me and my 200-pound Leningrad fur are allowed to smell around here. I look to Miss S, so worried that she will cry, but instead she laughs and then goes on about how running makes her feel good. After we have all finished explaining who we are, Miss S calls me over to her desk. You really wrote a novel, she says? Yes, I say. It is called The Challenge. May I read it? Yes, you may read it. I will brink it. And brink it I do, with the worried admonition, please don't lose it, Miss S, okay? And then it happens. At the end of the English period, when a book about a mouse who has learned how to fly in an airplane has been thoroughly dissected, Miss S announces, and now Gary will read from his novel. His what? Oh, but it doesn't matter, because I'm standing there holding my Cosmopolitan composition notebook straight from the Square Deal Notebook people of Dayton, Ohio, zip code 45463. And looking out at me are the boys beneath their little flying saucer yarmulkes and the girls with their sweet aromatic bangs, their blouses studded with stars. And there's Miss S, who I'm already terribly in love with, who I recently learned has a fiance, not sure what that means, can't be good, but whose bright American face is not just encouraging me, but priding me on. Am I scared? No, I am eager to begin my life. Introduction, I say. The mysterious race. Before the age of dinosaurs, there was human life on Earth. They looked just like man of today, but they were a lot more intelligent than man of today. Slowly, Miss S says. Read slowly, Gary. Let us enjoy the words. I breathe that in. Miss S wants to enjoy my words. And then slower, they built all kinds of spaceships and other wonders, but at that time the Earth circled the moon because the moon was bigger than the Earth. One day a gigantic comet came and blew up the moon to the size it is today. As I'm reading it, despite the many errors, I'm hearing a different language come out of my mouth. I do full justice to the many misspellings, the Earth circled the moon, and the Russian accent is still thick, but I am speaking in what is more or less comprehensible English. And as I'm speaking, along with my strange new English voice, I'm also hearing something entirely foreign to the squealing and shouting that constitutes the background noise of my Hebrew school. Silence. The children are silent. They are listening to my every word. And they will listen to the story for the next 5 weeks as well, because Miss S will designate the end of every English period as Gary novel time. And they will shout out throughout the English period, when will Gary read already? The school is close to Long Island. And I will sit there in my chair, oblivious to all but Miss S.'s smile, excused from following the discussion of the mouse who learned how to fly, so that I may go over the words I will soon read to my audience. And God bless these kids for giving this liar a chance. May their God bless them, everyone. Thank you.